Steamworks is a platform that a lot of developers are kind of scared of, but honestly, I think it's not really that hard. For me, of course, it's easy to say because if we look at here, all of the unreleased apps and also all of the released apps, I've been working on this platform for over 4 years. And there's a lot of things that maybe aren't super obvious from the first start. So in this video, I want to talk about 5 things that I think a lot of developers don't know they can do that is really important. And we're going to start by taking a look at the first game we've ever made. And we're taking a look at this Steam page. And I have a question for you. This game has a demo. Do you see where the demo is? Because normally over here, there should be a big green demo download button, but it's gone. Maybe you've noticed here. Don't ask why I have 3. There's a Steam bug going on right now. This is supposed to only have 1 demo download button, but this is something that I see a lot of game developers make kind of as a rookie mistake, a beginner mistake, and it's not even their own fault, to be honest. But especially with the Steam Next Fest coming up, if you're participating in it, you definitely want to double check, do I have my demo download button here, or do I have the big green demo download button here that everybody knows and wants to have? Because this is not enabled by default. So if we head over to our Steamworks app admin for Forge Industry, we'll go and head over to Edit Store page. And then from here, we go over to Special Settings. And here you can see, once again, I have 3. You should normally only have 1 here if your demo is associated. There is a checkbox here. Display demo download button as more prominent green box above the list of purchase options. You check this, you hit save, and then you publish this basically. And that's it. Publish to public. And if we then refresh now our Steam store page, ta-da, we have our big download Forge Industry button. This is what you want to have for Steam Next Fest because this is what players are trained to find, this big green demo download button. And sometimes Steam enables it by default, but I don't know why, for some reason, like 50-50 chance basically, it doesn't get enabled by default. So check this the moment you launch your demo, make sure that you have this big demo download button checked. Now, the next thing, we're gonna go to work through all our games. Overtime Anomaly. Overtime Anomaly is a game, and this is a game that has Steam Deck support. However, if we look here at Steam Deck compatibility, it is marked as unknown. This is because the game hasn't earned enough money. There's like a threshold. Either you get around 20,000 wishlists or around $20,000 in gross revenue. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less. But only once you've hit like 10K, 15K in gross revenue or those wishlists, basically, Steam will go and they will check if your game applies for the Steam Deck verification. If you don't hit that, it's going to stay at unknown. However, what you can see here is we have this thing called developer comments. And if we actually go and we open this, it shows like if you click it, it opens this, Steam Deck compatibility. This is actually a post that I made talking about, hey, if you want to play the game on Steam Deck, this is what you can expect. Depending on like the graphics settings and the TDP that you configure, what are the frame rates and things like that you can experience. So this is kind of my way to say like, hey, if you want to get this game for Steam Deck, here's what you can actually assume from it, because we aren't big enough to have that approval. And the way you set this up is also, once again, very easy. Once you know where you go, once again, we go to Edit Store page. And then here underneath Steam Deck compatibility info, you can put a link to a Steam community post. So you will need to go into Steamworks and make a general information Steam community post. And then once you've done that, you can just put the link to that post, like this post, for example. You can just copy it from the URL. You can't see it because it's kind of cropped out here. You put this in here and you apply, and then automatically it shows up. Then this next one is one that I see people make as well, but it's not their fault. It's just unclear documentation. On Steamworks, there are 2 places where you can kind of specify what languages your game supports. The first one is the game languages. And that is, if we go and we look at our Steam store page admin once again, if we scroll down, this is for another game that's not out yet, we can see here supported languages. So these are the languages that your game supports. Right now, we only have English selected, and you can see that reflected here in English. However, if we go to our description, we can set up a different language. Let's say Dutch, because that's a language I know. Dit is de korte beschrijving. Okay, whatever. This is Dutch. We now have technically Dutch support for this game on the Steam store page. And for a lot of people, they think that, hey, if the Steam store page is localized to Dutch, that's all I need for people to find my store page, for example. If you're joining a festival or discovery queue, these are based on the language that your game is localized in. So someone who speaks Chinese, if your game isn't localized in Chinese, but their Steam is configured in Chinese as their main language, they would not get this store page or like this game suggested to them through things like Steam Next Fest, through things like the discovery queue and all of that. And you might think, okay, but I have the store page localized to that language. That actually doesn't matter. Steam localization is based entirely of the one you configure here for supported languages. You can actually check boxes here for like Italian, Spanish, or whatever, any of these languages. Even if you go to the other page, the one where you edit your whole store page description, even if you localize your store page, if you do not check these boxes, the game will not exist for players in other languages. And the opposite is also kind of true. If you localize, if I'm like, hey, this game is localized in Arabic, for example, I check this, you do not actually have to localize the description. This doesn't matter for like how Steam feeds people's store pages. They will just get the fallback English store page if the language that they have selected, that they normally play Steam in, doesn't have the actual localization editor here. So I think that's an important one. Once again, localizing is very important to get more people to know about your game. So ideally, you want to have as many languages in here as possible, but you need to check these boxes. This box area is what the Steam algorithm uses. It doesn't use the fact that you localize your Steam page, yes or no. And then this next quick tip that I have is about creator marketing, basically, and figuring out, hey, I sent the Steam key to another YouTuber. Did they actually cover it? Do the keys that I sent, like the early access keys for my game, actually get covered? Because that way you can also kind of track which YouTubers are more likely to claim your keys. Will they actually make a video and all of that? So let's say I have here a list of Steam keys. These are all already taken, so that's why I can show them. What you can do is you can just copy one, for example, and then here under tools, go to query Steam key. And here we can fill in a CD key. And we can see, oh yeah, this was a Steam key for MO98 and it was activated Friday, April 3rd. And okay, what about the next key? Okay, we query this. This is also activated. We send out hundreds of these keys. So it's not really something where I can one by one go and fill in all of these keys myself. But there is a way you can actually do it, and that is by this very simple script. I will leave a link down below to this GitHub gist. It's based on this. I think my version is like a little bit different in like output formatting, but for the most part, it's based upon this one by Peter SVP, where the way you can query multiple keys at the same time is, okay, we take this text file and we put our keys in here. Don't share this with other people, of course. These keys are claimed already, so I can show it. And then depending on whatever flavor of browser you're using, you want to open your JavaScript console. So you go, in my case, I'm using Firefox. You go to inspect, and then I'm going to make this taller so you guys can actually see this. And we go to console. Okay. And we can then take all of this, I should say like disclaimer, don't put random untested code in here. This is a fair thing to put. You put this in here, okay. And now we can see, we immediately get a bulk list of all of the Steam keys and when they got activated. You can do this with hundreds of keys, and it will also tell you, once again, these keys are activated, these keys aren't activated. This is how I personally like to do it. There is unfortunately no better way to do it. There's no API call or whatever. But this is something that I think, once again, is very nice to know. Hey, the keys that I'm claiming and sending out to content creators, are they actually being claimed, yes or no? And then the last thing is something that I have struggled with so much. But it is something I think very important, and I want to tell you guys about it as well. And that is setting up support for different operating systems, such as macOS or Linux. I think it's a very powerful thing to do, because, for example, if we look at MO98, the revenue from Mac since we released that game is almost $2,000 in gross revenue. And same thing for Linux, but especially macOS is the one that we actually officially support. How do you set this up? It's pretty easy, honestly. I'm not going to go like giga deep in, but there's like one thing that always tripped me up that I want to talk about. First off, you go into Steamworks. So your Steamworks actual settings for that game. And then here you start by checking macOS, and then we only do Apple Silicon binaries. We don't notarize and we don't support Intel. Okay, we hit save here. That's good. Then the next thing we do is we head on over to our depots and we create a new depot. This is going to be called Net Profits macOS. Okay, once again, very simple. We can just set this up. All OSs, this should just be macOS, and this is basically fine. Okay, once again, save this. Then we have to put publish here. So once you've made a depot, you can't do an upload to the depot until you publish the depot. So we just do a very simple push here. Just type in Steamworks and really publish. And then now what you would assume is, okay, I can go to SteamPipe, I can go to web uploads, and then I can upload a build here. Just uploading your macOS build also won't work yet because Steam doesn't actually know what to do with it yet. So here we go to general installation for that, and we create a new launch option. And this is once again pretty easy. This is our Windows launch option. I always explicitly say Windows. And here, once again, we're going to edit this. And this would be like net profits dot app usually in case of macOS. This is the final name of your binary. Here, once again, we can specify macOS as our operating system and update it. So now Steam knows that if somebody hits the play button of like, hey, I want to play this game, what should they actually try and open for the user? And then if I, the developer, head on over to my Steam, and you can see it in like your Steam library, I can download the game, right? And I can try out, does my macOS build work? This is not the case. I have gone crazy on this a few times, so I'm going to tell you the secret tip. So the first thing you need to do is, okay, we need to go and look at all associated packages, DLC, demo, and tools. Here we can see, okay, we have demo, we have soundtrack, we have store packages. So what we then do is we head on over to the store package. And here we need to include the demo for macOS. Add or remove depots, net profits macOS, save, easy. Okay, that's it, right? There's actually a secret second thing. You as the developer do not have access to this package. This is the retail package. You as a developer have a different package, and that is these two. You are using the net profits developer comp. If you're logged in on your Steam account, if you've given yourself a developer key, for example, and here once again, you also need to include the macOS depot. If you don't do that, even if you upload your files to the macOS depot, you cannot download them as the developer. You need to, once again, do this here. And then once again, you can also do the same thing for net profits here. The early preview, this is what we do for content creators. Once again, add macOS. And now, if you upload your macOS build, you're all Gucci. And those are like the 5 biggest annoyances or things that I've learned over the past few years with Steamworks. Honestly, I think Steamworks isn't really that hard of a tool, but it can be extremely overwhelming if these are your first games. Now, if you are getting overwhelmed by Steamworks and you kind of are like, what should I do with my Steam page and all of that, and you're like, hey, this guy seems to know what he's doing, there's a link down below where you can work together with me and I can help you setting up your Steamworks, setting up your Steam pages, working on your game. So I think that's something that you might be interested in as well. Otherwise, what's your biggest annoyance about Steamworks? Is there anything else that you kind of are like, how the hell does this work? Feel free to let me know down below, and maybe I'll make a part 2 where I talk about some more stuff. I'm also planning some more perhaps like in-depth Steamworks videos at a later point, but I would like to hear more from you guys first. That's all. See you guys in the next one. Bye.